podcast fam? Much of our audience has requested a show like this one, and today it is finally here. We are bringing 4 incredible guests from within the first 50 episodes of the WHOA GNV podcast back. And I got a special co-host as well, Jason Hurst. We've shared their stories, we heard how they started and got their ventures off the ground, but where are they now? What's their growth been like? What would they like to have answered by the others at the table? Brad Gamble of The Selling Factory, Elio Piedra of the Fiesta Media, Kristin Coffey Pressley, blogger and social media influencer, and Drew Stuerman of Halo Potato Donuts join us for an incredible show. Episode 150 starts right now. You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Give me your best whoa, y'all.
Whoa!
I'm your host, Collin, and my co-host, you guys, representing our all-in sponsor, the GNV Commercial Advisors at Colliers, Gainesville, my man, the one, the only, Jason Hurst.
I almost didn't know you were introducing me. But I'll take it. I'm going with it.
What's up, man? How are you?
Doing great, man. It's been a busy 2021.
Yes?
But we had to make up for all the 2020, so.
That is true. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're here joining me, man.
I'm happy to be here.
You and Colliers, you guys have been sponsoring our show for a while now.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate that. So tell us, what's going on in your world, man? Anything?
So real estate is like you ever had a balloon and it's kind of, you're blowing it up over time, and then it's actually going to pop? We are in that pop right now. Residential real estate is one thing, but commercial real estate is kind of a microcosm of what is happening in residential real estate, which you guys know is on fire right now.
It's crazy now. Residential's so crazy right now.
It really is.
It's like full price plus like all these
in 3 days. 3 days.
Dude, that's nuts. But like they have, what do they call the expansion or something, I forget the term.
It's a little bit. Money's cheap right now across the board for both business and residential, so it's exploding right now. And we had to make up for 6 months of last year because there was some stuff going on last year. That's probably the understatement of the century. But yeah, so
COVID life.
There's a couple of asset classes that are really going well right now, like multifamily selling well. Retail selling well. Industrial is probably having the biggest expansion of its time. Office, not so much. We don't. I think people kind of got used to being at home and being dressed up top and kind of chilling down low on the Zoom videos.
All right. So is that gonna stick? Or like are people gonna go back now that it seems like things are normalizing a little bit? With the vaccine and everything, people are starting to go back to work. Yeah. Like, are people gonna go back to the office, or is like a remote life?
Well, here's what happened. So the guys that stayed at home are still quasi-productive. I mean, they were at work doing 4 hours of nothing. They're at home doing 4 hours of stuff around the house and doing work. And then the bosses that were sending them home were like, man, we kind of need these guys here during 2020. And then they looked at the bills and were like, well, maybe we don't need them so much. So I think there's going to be a hybrid, more of like a flex schedule for the office market.
Okay.
It's been really difficult to kind of figure out, how to place tenants and how to place buyers in the market for office. We've been fortunate enough to get some under contract, but it's been work. So I think that the hybrid model is here to stay. But with retail, I mean, there's certain stuff that's Amazon proof that you can't replace, like restaurants. Mm-hmm. They're back up and swinging in full effect. Some of the experiential stuff like fitness is back up and swinging in full effect. But speaking of Amazon, that has really caused the industrial market to take off. A lot of people are going e-commerce, going storage. So industrial development is really picking up.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys are trying to help me lease this building I got next door.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. So you guys have been doing great. And, if you guys need to get in touch with these guys, go to colliers.com/Gainesville. Do you want to throw out any other contacts for you, or?
Yeah.
Where can people hit you up?
Yeah, jason.hurst at colliers.com. Got my partner, dan.drotos, DROTOS, at colliers.com.
Yeah. And mad love to Dan and the whole team over there. You guys have been doing an amazing job.
He's having a
and
baby
just
sometime this week.
I know, man. That's awesome. Congratulations on the baby, Dan. I'm so excited for you, man. That's like a whole nother world. That's a whole nother level.
Whole nother level.
So
H&L.
But I'm super appreciative of you guys supporting our show and just really helping us get this out there into the world.
Man, we appreciate what you do for Gainesville, man.
So you ready to help me interview some people and ask some questions and co-host this baby?
So we're gonna go round robin?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So you guys, today on the show, we are hosting our first ever podcast, like a podcast update. Where are they now? Reunion show. I thought it would be great to do this to celebrate episode 150. I cannot believe that we've been doing this for 3 years now, and consistently every week. And it's been just a hell of a ride for myself. It's been fun to watch it grow. It's been fun just to meet new people and to follow their journey and to participate in some of their journey. And so we've brought back 4 incredible individuals who were all featured in the first 40, our first 50 episodes. I guess 40. Hold on, I got the numbers actually. Up to the first 43. So Drew was on episode 43. So that's the up to the latest that we have there for this particular episode. And you were on episode 18.
Episode 18 with my main man Brandon West.
Yeah, dude, that was a good time.
Yeah, that was a good time.
So that's what's so exciting. It's kind of like seeing like how everybody has kind of where they're at now.
Yeah.
Where they're at now. So
and kudos to you, man, for doing this and putting this together, man. I mean, I've grown from it. Gainesville's grown from it, and I really like seeing you flow in your gift and your calling, man. It's really it's awesome. So
thanks,
congratulations
man.
to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's my gift is talking. It's all I know how to do. It's all I'm good for. So thanks for calling that out to the audience and letting them know. Like, Collin's here to talk, everybody. So all right, so we're gonna go around the room and let our guests just introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. And I'm gonna start first right here with the young lady on my right.
Hi guys, I am Kristin Coffey Pressley. I am a fashion and lifestyle blogger here in Florida. I actually started my blog in August of 2015. I went full time in November 2018. I was on Collin's podcast, January 2019, only 2 months after I started full time, and here we are.
I'm so excited.
April 2021, and I'm still grinding. So
I'm so excited to kind of hear where you're at. We'll come back. We'll circle back to that. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. And you were on episode 39?
Yes.
Episode 39. Wow.
Yes.
So
lots have changed.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Drew.
Right. I don't know how I'm going to follow up with that, but my name is Drew Stuerman. I'm the founder and chief donut officer over at Halo Potato Donuts. We began Halo Potato Donuts 3-ish years ago with a food truck. Now we've got a brick and mortar, 2 food trucks. We're expanding to another brick and mortar, and then eventually outside of Gainesville. Just donuts and coffee. That's pretty much my life.
And I'm your chief donut eater, but got that established.
Nice to meet you.
Excellent. Brad Gamble.
Hey there, I'm Brad Gamble, co-founder of The Selling Factory. We are 4.5 years old now, and founded by Gators, employing Gators, except for one guy who's an Ohio State guy. But
get rid of him now. He's out.
Well, he's a co-founder. I can't. So now we've had a roller coaster the last few years, which I'm sure we'll get into. But happy to be here, and congrats to you, my man.
And Brad was on episode 2.
Man,
like literally, I mean, you're talking about like I literally had no idea what I was doing. It's still one of the episodes. Like people like respond like the volume or something. A lot of people complained about the sound in that episode. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was
Brad, I got to work out some kinks. Can you be on this episode?
That's literally what the first handful of episodes were. It was like, I need my friend.
Was the studio even here?
I mean, we were doing it right here. We didn't really have these beautiful lights and this beautiful setup that we now have because James is awesome. But it was kind of like, just set up some cameras and record. But I just remember like literally just trying to figure it out. And I'm like begging my friends, come be on my podcast. You're what? So Brad was one of those early volunteers that gave me the chance. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome, man.
So, and my man, Elio Piedra.
Pleasure
Fiesta.
to be here. I always love bringing the Fiesta when Collin is around because we get an explosion,
Fiesta explosion.
That is
we
true.
love doing events together. But, bro, following up what Jason was mentioning, very humble, very honored, and grateful with everything that you have done and continue you keep doing for Gator Nation and for all the entrepreneurs and everybody, the business community. And I had the opportunity to be here on the very few episodes as well.
Episode 6.
Episode 6.
Wow.
Yeah, we missed my favorite number, which is 5, but okay. Episode 6. I love bringing the Fiesta to you. I'm an entertainer, an entrepreneur, but then only bringing the Fiesta. Now also doing the Fiesta media, and we can talk about that later. But just passionate, man. Passionate about being here at this point in time. Continue. We keep growing, and and I will say developing ourselves as entrepreneurs.
It's been so. I feel like you and I get pulled into the same events all the time. We're like co-hosting, or like one of us will be hosting, and he'll obviously have the music because I ain't controlling the music part ever. I don't know how to bring the Fiesta. I just know how to talk.
I love being around Elio because every time I feel a little bit better about myself when I leave him. Like if I come in with depression, I need to find Elio because he really does bring the Fiesta everywhere he goes, man. And I like that Fiesta explosion. I'm gonna use that one. Insert interpretation there.
Kind of wish I'm very curious to see what happens with your kids, Elio, because you got 2 daughters. You got 2 daughters, right?
Yes.
I just picture them having the Fiesta getting out of bed in the morning. And I can't. I'm I can just when you have teenagers and stuff, and then dragging out of bed. I just
ain't no
picture them
Fiesta going on in
literally
my
jumping up and I don't know, shaking maracas or something.
It gets crazy at home sometimes. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's cool to just see your social media posts and see how they kind of engage with you on the music stuff. It's a lot of fun, man. So yeah, I mean, again, I want this to be a very open discussion, kind of talk about whatever you want to talk about, but let's state the obvious. So let's swing it back around this way to Elio, okay? We'll swing it back and forth, but Elio, when I first met you at a Chamber of Commerce Mastermind meeting session that I was kind of putting together, right? I was helping them.
I remember that.
I was helping them put together these round tables, and I mean, you and I just clicked. It was this energy. It just clicked. But that was the first time I met you, and I remember I was like, dude, you need to come on the show, dude. Come on the show. And of course, it was very similar early on. It was kind of oh, I'll do it. I'm pretty sure you were just kind of hey, I'll do anything, whatever, and it came on because this was still the time where I'm begging people to be on the show.
Yeah. You ain't gotta beg him to do much.
But you even brought a drum. I mean, there was music. I mean, it was great. So at that point, you were doing a lot of wedding stuff, right? Wedding entertainment. Is that what you would say was your main cup of tea? And then so why don't you tell our audience what you were doing and then where you're at today, because you have
evolved.
I mean, the king of pivots, right? so tell us about it, man.
Well, again, brother, thank you for having me here. Honored to share a little bit of my pivoting story, I would say. I was doing a lot of corporate events, wedding, mostly entertainment all over. We were performing from Tuesday to Saturday and a lot of weeks until Sunday, nonstop. I mean, you name it, Bahama Breeze, I remember Fluid, Big TWs, I don't know, so many venues, but from Tuesday to the end of the week, including weekends, nonstop. On top of that, doing a lot of corporate events, sometimes 2 or 3 events in one day, and then weddings during weekends, and we were super busy. So COVID came. And during that time, just to make it a little long story short, we went a little bit, we went deeper into branding. We all know branding and marketing are different things. So we were very deep into branding. I would love to shout out to, Weavy Marketing, helped me a lot. The tagline, bringing the Fiesta, they own it, by the way, I will say. And they helped me grow, as an entrepreneur, as a person. I have the opportunity to meet all of you guys as well. You help a lot, to networking. I also learned a lot from the Mastermind and roundtables. It was amazing. Chamber of Commerce, I became a member, later a diplomat. It was a lot of networking. So anyways, the entertainment, people that they don't know me well, I am a classical trained musician, and my specialties are piano and percussion. I play drums. I always been involved into technology a little bit because when I was on tour here in this country, we got a lot of interviews in different studios, New York, Miami, all of that. And instead of going to where I was supposed to sit down to the interview, I started talking to the producers and all these things because I knew about encoders, softwares, all of this. But I never talk about that much, And until I started my podcast a few months, 6 months before COVID hit. So long story short, COVID happened. And we all have now this time to think, what are we going to do next? What is out there for me? Or what can we create to even support others? Because it was devastating to see all the businesses just having a tough time, restaurants, different industries,
So real quick, this is the thing that I love about you is that this disaster happens, the whole world instantly shuts down, and Ellie was worried about everybody else.
Yeah.
You start worrying about everybody else, but not once were you what am I going to do? All these events are canceled. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel. And were you? How scared were you for your living and what you do for a living and making money to support your family when all of this shut down?
I mean, honestly, it was the scariest time of my life because, you go from me, I'm always motivated and try to stay optimistic, but you're hey, we got this too. We got this too. I don't know if we got this. You get this point, but when you are down there, from that bottom, you are seeing everybody else, in the same position, but also then you start thinking about, imagine the non-profits. Mm-hmm. Imagine the families, the kids, all the people that they depend on those non-profits. Imagine all the businesses, restaurants, employees that they get fired. Because I remember people talking about me. It's but I am dealing with maybe 3 or 4 in my small team. What about all these families that they don't have what they used to have? So I started thinking about creating a bridge, a tool to keep connecting the strategies through the online marketing world. And again, I came out with the idea of my podcast, by the way, was the answer. Because I started meeting people from Canada, from all these places. And then I remember Purdeep Sangha, by the way, that you met, was my first client from Canada. And then I remember talking to Jason about this. And I was wow, man, it's amazing how many people you can reach by streaming and all of this. And since I already have the knowledge, it just took an investment risk, a big risk, because if you are not having...
I love the way he says risk.
Risk.
Love it.
You gotta say it the Cuban way.
It's a much better way. I love it.
Makes it feel safe. Makes it like a risk.
So, and then you start thinking about, are we gonna do it? And I was what is the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, the business model that I'm thinking. It's so good, but at least I tried, and I was all in. And I would love to shout out with all my heart to Jorge Villalobos for the best restoration.
Yep.
Guy, man, that
also
guy.
A sponsor of our show.
Also your sponsor, a sponsor of 100 and I don't know how many.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys.
Yeah. So I remember, just to go back how the Fiesta media really quick, I say, Jorge, can you stop by the office? I want to present something to see how we can help the business. Maybe we can do something for them. He stopped by, and it was funny because he's so tall, and I was my studio was so tiny. And he got there, he was blown away by the technology. But he was Elio, but look, man, we need something bigger than this. I don't even fit in this chair. I was I know, but the idea, he got it, and he actually said, you know what, we're gonna get someone, we're gonna find it in your location and all of that. And we had obstacles to find a location, the fiber optic, you need a lot of speed to live stream, a lot of steps,
and you did it. You're here. So I mean, you've pivoted. So you've gone from this entertainer, doing all these weddings, doing all these events, to now really becoming this producer of live stream shows at the Fiesta Media. what percentage, like how would you divide up your time if it was a pie chart? Would you say it's more of the live streaming stuff now, or is it still more events, or is it 50-50? Like,
in percentage in my head is kind of tough, but I will tell you this. So on weekends we're doing weddings every weekend, and we're doing corporate events during Thursday, Wednesday, depending, especially with the Chamber of Commerce and all of that, supporting nonprofits. But we are producing every day from Monday to Friday at the Fiesta Media. We're doing 20 productions every week, and 14 of them are local podcasts, and another, the rest is just, we're doing one cooking show, kids cooking show that is called Cat's Cachina, by the way.
That's one I definitely need to check out. I can't cook.
Cat's Cachina is that cooking show. I love them so much. They're two talented kids. And then again, just we're doing a lot of educational content, webinars. Shout out to Bamboo Strategic Media, my partners on that aspect. Paul Prusakowski, and yeah, man, we're nonstop every day over there. It's
awesome, man.
So as COVID presumably is starting to open back up things, are you going to continue to push your momentum with the media company, or are you going to try to do events too? Because you're like a one-man show. You're playing the drums, you're singing, you're dancing. Like, what is your plan and your outlook for as things start opening back up?
Yeah, that's such a great question, actually. Yes, because I've been noticing that, for example, Felipe Stackeria, one of my partners, corporation from New Orleans. Shout out to them. So last year we did the Cyber Cinco de Mayo online, and they noticed that the reach, was huge. So the results long term, like they're super good, and they stay relevant across the entire country. So basically, they are doing it again. So I am noticing that a lot of companies in different industries, no matter what is your industry, if you have that presence online, is going to help you long term, your business. So going back to Jason's question, I am one of our ultimate goals is to keep pushing towards that. We love our timeline, boosting brands around the world, boosting brands. We are passionate about keep boosting that brand, that growth towards your online presence, and help you become an influencer within your industry and your market. That's our mission. Wow. Our client success, it is our success. So that's basically our...
Elio can boost anything just off his energy. I'm telling you. It's just the energy. Man, it's awesome. It's
amazing.
Incredible job, incredible work. It's going to be fun to watch it. I can't wait till episode 300. I mean, all right, so Brad, I mean, you jumped in. Episode 2. I apologize again for that, but I'm so glad that you came. And we had James Bates on. We really talked a lot about students and working with students in that episode. I remember. It's funny, I can still remember. So I mean, how have things? I mean, you guys have changed a lot.
We have.
Right? A lot. So why don't you kind of tell us, our audience, where you were?
Sure.
And what in May of 2018, and where you guys are at today.
Yeah. So we just to catch everybody up, our business model is we recruit students from University of Florida, bring them into the selling factory, teach them how to sell, and then companies will outsource to our teams of students those job functions. So that's in 20 seconds, that's what we do. But what's changed, we had episode 2, May of 18, I think we had 20 students on our team, and we had 2 or 3 of us leading this group, and we were in a different office space at the time. And now fast forward since then, we've had, I think we just eclipsed 300 students that have worked for us since then. And we've had 75 to 80 companies that have hired us over this time period. And it's just been incredible. I mean, it's one of these things where when you're in the moment, you don't realize it when you're actually thinking day by day what's happening. But when you start to reflect quarterly or semi-annually or every year, you're like, my gosh, I can't believe how much has happened. So it's been wild. I mean, we've had the same leadership team in place now. It's growing. And having the best part of our job, though, is every day getting interact with amazing students that are just for everybody that says kids these days, it's really
Kids these days.
yeah, no, it's not that.
Back in my day.
It's like, oh my gosh, kids these days, they're incredible. So, and that they're the heart and soul of our company. I mean, the passion they have, the thirst to learn, the motivation. And in the world of sales, it usually involves the phone, right?
Yeah.
And they are dying to get on the phone. I mean, as a leader of salespeople, when
That's so hard to believe.
I know that is.
it's
I feel
crazy.
like I have to, as at the scooter dealership, I have to like text students to get them to actually like respond
My
to
employees
their.
are scared to death to answer the phone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
When that thing goes off, they're like
What is
running
that?
as far as
Yeah.
they can.
This device is making a funny noise.
my kid's upstairs. He's 11 years old. He'd rather text me or hit up Alexa to talk to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm here, dude. What are we doing?
Well, dude, all this stuff, like sometimes, like I find my kid, he's FaceTiming a friend
Yeah.
while playing a video game at the same
Yeah.
time while talking on a different screen.
About
It's crazy.
So these students, are they pursuing a career in sales, or is this just a resume builder?
So both. So I would say probably a third to half of our students will go into a sales position of some kind.
Gotcha.
Most business students, whether you're finance or marketing or management, you're probably going to go. That's the biggest entry point into a big company is through the sales department.
What type of industries are they going into for these sales jobs?
Oh gosh, I mean, the biggest companies in the world recruit out of UF. So just this graduating class that we have this year, which is probably 35 students, they're going to Oracle, they're going to Amazon, they're going to CDW, they're going to Chewy, just
Nice.
gigantic companies, and some smaller companies as well, which is cool because look, each student when they're graduating, they're saying, do I want to take the corporate path, or do I want to work for a startup, or do I want to start a business? Some go to law school. We try to talk them out of it, and I'm just kidding. Some, and so we do have students from other colleges outside of business, like journalism, communications, liberal arts. So, but most they want to just learn how to communicate and learn how to have confidence in the way that they speak and be able. Because selling is not just selling a piece of property or selling a new podcast ad. It's selling yourself, and it's selling ideas to others. It's somebody in your shop saying, hey, I've got this idea for this incredible donut. Let me sell you on this idea. And if they're good, they might sell you on it.
Yeah.
If they can't sell it, you might think that's a terrible idea. So
Do you think that the sales process, since you've been doing the selling factory, has changed over time? Like, for instance, in real estate, it's changed because everybody has information at their fingertips. They can find everything else about a property before they even call you. So when they're calling you, they're almost an expert. So we have to kind of sell to what we know about the market and add some kind of value there. But in your world and with the students that you work with, have you seen that dichotomy shift as well for the selling process?
Yeah, I mean, customers and prospects are getting smarter have access to more information now than they've ever had access to. The biggest change we've seen, and I've been leading sales team for 20 years now, is now we're seeing to where empathy is one of the biggest things that you can have. Genuinely caring about people, not just trying to force them, or if you get a telemarketing call and they just start diving into a pitch and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I answered this, and you hang up. But it's just being honest and transparent and empathetic and nice and smiling.
It's amazing how those soft skills have kind of diminished over the years.
Oh, yeah.
In the customer service process, we see it in our restaurants too. Just the empathy is just like a lost art.
We're bringing it back.
Yeah, but please, please. Bring it
Yeah,
back.
I mean,
So-
it's funny because like even in New Scooters Plus, and I mean, we're always trying to like focus on customer service and just really having that authentic care for the other person,
I kind of like, I actually have a question for you. You don't mind?
I don't.
Since we all believe that people do business with people they know, like, and trust, and communication skills are crucial for the sales process. What is the lack of? I will say, what is the aspect that you think that they are lacking the most? Especially in the young generation.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Ooh, be careful here. No,
Drum roll.
gosh, no, it's tough because they're so good. I think probably just the ability to take rejection and realize that it's not about you. Somebody's not rejecting you.
Yeah.
They're rejecting this situation, and it's not personal. And like a seasoned sales professional has a tougher skin for that.
I'm practicing that with my wife right now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, and that just takes reps. It's more at bats, it's more calls, it's more interactions to where you learn that, and that's where our students are coming in. And they're very raw, and they're thirsty, and they're dying to learn, but they haven't been told, I can't, stop calling me, or you're bothering me, or hang up, or they haven't really dealt with that before. Yeah. So we do a lot of coaching on how to handle that and how to handle rejection. And man, I tell you, after 6 months to a year, the difference that you see of just going through those reps is night and day. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's so good. It can affect your mental health too, because we get rejected a lot. Mm-hmm. So almost on a daily basis, we get rejected more than we get yes. So being able to handle that's amazing that you're teaching that. That's a great soft skill to have.
Yeah, it's been incredible. So we've fast forward now, we've got more team members than we've ever had. Last year was pretty rough. We lost half our customers overnight, and about this time last year. Mm-hmm. And it was, we were on pace for an incredible year, and because we've been growing just exponentially, every year is just getting better and better, and then wham, this hits, and half our customers call up and say, yeah, stop what you're doing, because we don't know what's going to happen now, and we don't have budget for this. Yeah. And then so it was a lot of clawing and scrapping, and thankfully we didn't furlough anybody, we didn't lay anybody off, we didn't get rid of anybody. We were able to hold it together, and then now making it through the back end of 2020, it's been incredible. I don't know if it's the world's adoption of remote work. It's now normal, whereas before it wasn't really normal. Right. It was kind of an oddity. Right. And that combined with companies that can't find people. They just can't find labor. Yeah. And so now we're on pace now to just have a gigantic year. And we couldn't be more humbled and excited about that.
That's awesome.
Were you like really freaking out when it all started happening?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was just, you look at this, and so I set up as soon as we went fully remote on March 12th, right after UF went remote. And we had at the time 40 or 50 people. And so I set up a spreadsheet that tracked our cash on a weekly basis. And because before you look at your monthly financials and you look at how much cash is in the bank, what are your expenses? But I'm like, no, I need to know per week what our expenses are. Yeah. And so every day and it's funny, I still use that spreadsheet today because I'm so used to it. It's such a good temperature check. Yeah. But you're just watching your bank account balance go down every week. Yeah. Every week.
Scary time.
I'm in year 3 and I feel that now.
Oh yeah. You don't have, 3 years of expenses socked away somewhere for a rainy day. You're still building, right? And we're still building. Yeah. So.
Last question really quick before we jump over to Drew. I know that you had, and I don't know, I think you put it into practice, but you guys had some sort of virtual sales room. Are you able to talk about that? Because it was kind of a unique thing. Tell me if I'm describing it right. It was like everybody was working, but in like a TSF virtually. They were able to go in and communicate with each other. And is that kind of the right idea?
Yeah, it is.
Like a 3D world kind of?
It was a virtual reality office. Okay. Sales department.
And where did this come from? Did this come from the pandemic?
So one of our campaign managers, Zach, is going to NYU right now. And he's incredibly creative, and he's been with us for a couple of years now. He works part-time for us. And he started, when we went remote, we said, well, it's tough to live on Slack and Zoom. And it's just, and all of our students are working from their apartments or their dorms or at their parents' house. So he found a platform, a Mozilla Hubs platform, and he built an office, a digital office. And literally, you can use VR goggles, or we just use it on our browser. But literally, you walk, you build an avatar of yourself, and you walk into the office virtually, and you go in and you see all your coworkers in the office, and they all have their avatars. Their name is floating above their head. Somebody was like a big chicken one day, and somebody's a seahorse the next day. I was a giant red panda bear. That was my avatar. And so, but from a coaching perspective, what was amazing was you can cruise around the office, and it had audio that was built in through it. So I would roll up here next to Elio, and I could hear him on the phone and coach him through his calls and help with rejection and help with all the different techniques. We're coaching them. We're literally we're right next to them.
So cool.
And so we've now upgraded our residence, and we have a nicer virtual office now that's much bigger, and and then we put games on the walls. We have surveys. People can go over there and what's your favorite cereal and stuff like that. And
that's neat.
And so we still use it to this day. It's very cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting COVID virtually.
No.
So you're able to be in the same to be.
It's like a Sims selling factory.
That's what it was. So.
Yeah, it's so
awesome.
cool. But did that kind of stem from the fact that everybody was virtual? Like, had to be remote?
Well, we were 100% in person on March 11th.
Right.
And March 12th, we were 100% remote. So
it was a solution to that
and
problem.
we were very anti-remote work before that because we wanted to have that collaborative experience and coach and train right there next to people. So that was missing when we were trying to live on Slack and Zoom calls.
Cool.
So Zach built it. Of course, now we're thinking, how do we build a business out of this? Because this is really freaking cool.
Right, yeah.
So,
super neat.
Yeah, so we've got to stay focused.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that you're here. You know, it's super exciting just to see how far you've come. And I know, like, Brad and I are like really good friends, and so I'm always like seeing the stuff that's happening. I feel like on a day-to-day basis so much, you know. So it's neat to watch it grow.
Well, if we need mutual therapy sessions, we're there for each other.
That's right. That's right. So, Drew, man, I'm excited to hear this for sure. I don't know if you remember, Drew, but I'm gonna remind you just in case. But when we first connected about doing the podcast, I remember I was like, yeah, like, Drew, like, I get it. Like, I want to have you on the show. I really want to have you on the show, but I kind of want you to actually get your food truck out there.
Yeah. You're like, I want to see you
and like,
struggle.
I want to see you like actually like I want to have something to talk about when you come on the show, like what it's like actually operating a business. Like, I'm all about helping you get the word out. Like, let's tell her about Halo Potato. But I mean, you were in a very similar place where you were like just launching. Just launching.
So first off, thank you guys for having me back on the podcast. I appreciate everything you're doing for Gainesville. Jason, thank you for sponsoring this because this is pretty cool. And I'm sitting here like as they're talking, trying to rack my brain because I feel like I've been going 150 miles per hour for the past year and a half, 2 years. I'm trying to retrace my steps, how I'm here right now.
Yeah.
And so I took myself back to that podcast, and I'll kind of pick up from that podcast. So that podcast, I had a food truck. I think I had 3 or 4 employees. We were trying to figure things out, suppliers, how to make donuts still. We really had no idea at the time, even after owning a food truck of even how to make a donut. And so during that podcast, like you said, it was really early on. We were getting our feet wet. Since then, so I'll take you from the food truck. Then we eventually realized that we couldn't produce as many donuts as we wanted out of the food truck. So then we realized it's time to get a shop. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was November of 2019. So later in that year, we went and got a shop of our own. And so when that happened, we basically grew 10x. We were able to produce donuts in a physical shop. We were able to hire a lot more staff, stay open a lot longer, and we used that shop and that food truck as really one, a satellite location, and the other a retail location, a brick and mortar. And so we launched November 2019. That's kind of the food truck. I don't even consider really like a business at that point. It was kind of still like a hobby. It was like we weren't making any money. We were losing money on every sale. It wasn't until we got to the shop when we started figuring out pricing, how to manage a team, how to make donuts, how to grow. And so we launched the brick and mortar. It was a huge hit, and we just kept learning. And so leading into 2019, we had about 11 people on staff, And by the time it was like February, early March, right before COVID hit, we had just pretty much doubled staff. So we were like 18 to 20 people. Sometimes we'd have some floaters that would come in. So right around 20 employees. And then COVID hits. And honestly, I've talked to so many other business owners, and, so restaurants are notorious for closing down in year one. Like 1 in 100 make it after year one. And if you make it to year 2, you are like 1 in every 100 of that batch. And then you throw a pandemic into the mix. And it has been, I feel like I have aged 10 years. I'm going to be straight up. Like I was like, dude, this is over. When COVID first hit, I was like, we're going to have to shut down because we went through a bunch of different phases during COVID. We went through the non-essential, essential phase.
Yeah.
And donuts, is it essential? Is it non-essential?
It's essential.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
sure.
here I am. I'm the fan club over here. I'm saying it is essential. Well, we went through weeks. We had to shut down, and we went through weeks of going through that essential, non-essential phase. And finally, when they announced that restaurants were essential, we're like, okay, we have to make this work. And luckily, we had the perfect setup for the shop. We had 2 walk-up windows. We had a food truck that people could walk up or drive to. And so we were fortunate. We were set up for COVID, like for a pandemic, and we had to make it work. And so they determined that we were essential, and we hit the ground running. And, we started doing pre-order pickups. We started doing like call-ahead ordering. We basically tried every single thing to keep people interested in purchasing donuts during this time. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, when a pandemic hits, it causes a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. Stress causes a lot of eating. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily healthy foods, a lot of donuts and a lot of carbs and a lot of just stress foods. Yeah. And so we
It was like, buy 10 boxes, get one free.
It really was. We were so, this is, we're coming into the summer. We're like, okay, this thing's still here. Like, what are we going to do about it? And so this is kind of really personal. I don't really share this story very often, but I will now. So the PPP, the first round of PPP hits, and we're like, oh, thank God. Like, we can, we've got 18 to 20 employees. We can use that money over 2.5 months. We can really build a safety net for us.
Yeah.
So we apply. And when we went and put in the application, they wanted 2019 taxes. Well, so 2019 taxes, we had 2 employees on staff. Mm-hmm. So we applied for the PPP. And so they went off of 2 employees of payroll. Now we have 18 to 20. And when we got our PPP amount, I think it was like $11,000. Mm-hmm. That was 1 week of payroll for us. That covered 1 week. And that wasn't even me taking a cut or any other managers taking a cut. And so we were freaking out. I tried calling the SBA hotline every single day. Of course, it's flooded. You can't get through. Yeah. It was a disaster. And it was at that moment, basically, where my mom works right alongside me in the business. My fiance, she works right alongside me. We were sharing an apartment at that time. Thank God, because we were able to reduce our costs and our expenses. But every night we'd come home and say, what are we going to do next? We didn't get any money from this SBA program, not enough at least. We have a ton of employees that we don't want to let go. We don't want to furlough. We have a lot of expenses ourselves. What are we going to do? And so we put our head down and we got super creative at that point. We started offering so many different, walk-up, pre-order pickup. We were delivering them in our personal vehicles, just trying to make as much sales as we possibly could. So we got clever enough, and we just kept pounding the pavement, just like, okay, we have to stay alive. And we launched. We decided we were actually fortunate enough. We applied for a second loan, the EIDL loan, and the EIDL loan. We took that money, and we were like, okay, we can either keep it in the bank account, or we can invest it and keep trying to grow. And so we put that money to use, and we actually went and purchased the little trailer. So now we had a shop, we had a food truck, and we had this new little trailer, and we're like, we just have to keep going as fast as we possibly can to stay alive. So we launched the trailer. At this point, we're now at like 23, 24 employees. We're just keep going, man. And so we, made it to the fall of last year. We got to Christmas time, we closed down, and we're just like, okay, if we make it to 2021, like, we're just gonna have to go 100%. So we get to 2021, and it's actually been the busiest we've ever been in our entire lives.
Wow.
We started, Uber Eats was taking too much of a cut, so we said, screw it, we're gonna do our own delivery.
There you go.
So we got our own software, we hired all our own drivers, we taught all their own drivers and said, we're gonna keep this in-house. We have 2 food trucks, out that are operating Thursday through Sunday. One of them's a drive-through, so people don't even have to get out of their car. They just pull up to the food truck.
God bless you.
Get their box.
That's awesome.
We've got another trailer that's walk-up. And then we've got our brick and mortar that offers, you can do call ahead. You can also do walk-up, and now a delivery option. So we have tried to just go as fast and as many directions as possible to keep this thing
And you're
alive.
doing another one, right?
Yes. So we've got the 2 food trucks right now and the shop. Tower Road, which actually Collier's hooked us up with that location. It's going to be on Tower Road. It's going to be opening in November of this year. And it's actually with Mitch Glazer. So he's building the property. And
Nice. Shout out to Mitch.
We are so excited for that location because it's the first time that we feel as if there could be enough cash flow
Oh yeah.
from that
No doubt.
from that location
doubt.
No
to
doubt.
eventually never have to go
No doubt
borrow
about
again, becoming our own bank. And so my eyes are completely set on November of this year, and then we have plans for major expansion. We want to go to Tampa. We're looking at Orlando, and eventually going national.
That's awesome.
So we started. So your episode, I think we had. I want
It
to
all happened because he was featured on this show. I don't know if you guys understand that or not.
Can only
Like,
be.
I want to say we had.
I don't want to take all the credit for Drew's success,
I think
but
we had like 3 or 4 employees that first episode we had 3 or 4 employees. Now we've got around 35, and they're actually having a staff meeting right now while I'm here. So
Good for them.
It's, so they don't need to know where I am.
you do that work. so I mean, that's an interesting question. Like, are you still like in the in the grid of it, making donuts, or are you full time managing people, looking at the expansion options? Like,
I was washing dishes on Sunday.
Okay, so you're
We are, as Brad, Brad, you have that spreadsheet that's week to week. That is our life right now because we are just trying, like I said, we're trying to reinvest every single dollar. Like my accountant looks at the account and she's just like, Drew, you got to get some more money in there, man. And I'm like, listen, we have just got to keep going. Like, and there's no time off, there's nothing. And, but yeah,
So is the growth model going to be a franchise model?
so.
Like, can I have my own Halo Potato Donuts? Because I'm ready.
So the game plan is this. There's kind of 2 different routes that you can go with expansion. Well, actually 3. You can go private, you can go franchise, or you can go a licensing model. So private is obviously, you're going to have your hands full. You have to keep consistency across all locations. It's you at the helm of it. Franchise, you can give somebody else the opportunity to run their own, but then you give them a lot of control, and they could run it into the ground. The other model that we're really looking at right now is called licensing. And licensing is basically, it's an alternative to franchising where you can give somebody the opportunity to open their own Halo up front for a cheaper cost. Mm-hmm. And instead of charging them an annual fee, like a royalty fee, like 8% of sales comes back to us every year for using the name, the rights, and all of that, we charge you a different way. We actually charge you on the ingredients and running social media for you. So I compare it to Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola will go give you the machine for free, but then they'll charge you for the syrups.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. We'll give you it for a low upfront cost, but where we're gonna make our money and expand more is gonna be really turning into like a flour company.
Yeah.
And a donut company that does this really, really well over the past 25 years is Daylight Donuts. So there's one on Main Street. Mm-hmm. I think they've got like 600 locations across the country. They are actually not a donut company. If you go online and you research how many employees they have and what they actually do. It's called the Daylight Donut Flour Company, because they did this same model. They basically said, you can go open them up and we're going to sell you the flour. And so that's kind of, my perspective on the whole thing.
It's very cool.
I got a burning question for you. Now, it makes me want you guys more, but it also makes me a little bit upset when I think about it. But do you guys run out of stuff on purpose, or is it that you haven't figured out the cost of goods model to keep up with demand?
No.
Because I'm like upset, but I'm like, but I'm coming back tomorrow. And
Scarcity, man. Scarcity.
Exactly.
So, great question. And we get
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm like, I'm gonna come back on Friday.
It's a great question.
The short answer is we have an 800 square foot shop on Main Street.
Yeah.
We've got a hood vent. We just purchased our second fryer in there. If you go in there, I would say there's maybe 100 feet of walkable space in there.
Yeah.
Everything we have to build up because we can't add any more tables.
Yeah.
And there's 25 people working in there. And so our head baker, his name's Piedra, he gets there at midnight and he starts making the dough. And so when I first got on the podcast, I had this little tiny mixer, which I would say, your home mixer can make like a little batch of cookies. The next one up that we had was, it's called a Hobart 20 quart, and it's basically like 10 times the size of your home mixer. Mm-hmm. We got so busy that now we're at a 60 quart, which is basically looks like a World War II machine. It is, the mixing bowl on it is wider than my arms can go around, and he's doing like 10 to 12 batches a day, which is like 3,000 to 4,000 donuts a day.
Yeah.
And we're still doing hand rolled, hand cut, hand decorated. Wow. And so there's this inflection point where you have to meet freshness with how much you can actually produce. Because we don't want to get started at 9 p.m. the night before, or else your donuts are going to be like 6 hours old by the time you get them at 7 a.m. And so we have to start at midnight, because then you can still maintain freshness, and we're still frying up until like 9, 10 a.m.
Yeah, so
and
Jason, the answer is standing in line at midnight.
Yeah.
Yes.
To be first in line.
We're thinking about making like a VIP where you can knock on the yellow side doors.
Nice. Yeah, I'm all for it. Subscription service.
It's the reason we're so excited for Tower, because Mitch, in our lease agreement, has been fortunate enough to provide us a 15-foot hood vent, which is going to give us like 4 fryers underneath there.
Nice.
We're going to have even a bigger mixer than the one we have now, more space, and so when we get to that point, we hope not to run out.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Man,
awesome.
it's
It is
cool.
nice selling out.
No, it is. It's a great selling point.
It is crazy.
It really
It's
is.
like you always see that on social media, sold out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Great marketing tactic.
Like you said, they're back the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
And the branding is all on point. You guys do a fantastic job with the Instagram. I think you're doing an incredible job with like creating this like cult-like following, and 100%. That is incredible. It reminds me of a brand that I really like called Johnny Cupcakes, which is not a cupcake company. It's it's a t-shirt company. But like it's very much the same way. We get the lines around the block. Yeah. People are waiting for that release, and it's really, really cool. So mad props, man. I'm so glad that we contributed all the success to your success.
All because of Collin.
A lot of views.
Can't see it any other way.
No, it's pretty awesome.
I have a question for
Yes.
you, actually, because we've been mentioning, like growth, growing to the obstacles and all of it. But anyway, my question to you would be like, if you have the opportunity to meet face to face to the Drew that was before the pandemic, all right? What would you say to them?
That's a great question.
To Drew?
I would say you're extremely naive. At that time, before the pandemic, I thought I was invincible. I really did. It was the pandemic. It was that non-essential essential period that I keep talking about that broke me. I mean, I went home and I was in tears. I was like, dude, the business is over. Like I might as well start finding out what else to do. I was extremely naive at that time. Now I don't take anything for granted. Everything that's gotten us to this point, we've earned, and we're just, and I think what I've learned from pre-pandemic to now is always stay on your toes, always adapt. Don't ever get complacent in business or else you're going to be the dinosaur. And so it's just staying on your toes, and that's the way I'm going to look at it. You know, I have a plan over the next 5 to 7 years to eventually sell this thing to hopefully a Dunkin' or a Krispy Kreme or Pepsi or someone that wants to own a potato donut company. But to get to that point, to be enticing enough to purchase in 5 to 7 years, we just have to keep adapting over time. Yeah. So I'm way less naive, I think.
We'll have to have you back in 5 to 7 years.
And one thing I did want to add that day that we had that first podcast, something really interesting was kind of going on in the background that I wasn't able to talk about during that podcast, but I am now. Yeah. I had business partners during that podcast, and we were actually going through a buyout during that podcast.
Okay.
And there was 3 of them, and you know, I wouldn't call them partners. I would just call them very noisy investors. And learn that lesson. You know,
is there a quiet one?
Yeah. There was no quiet. There was no quiet ones. And so during that podcast, I mean, I look back on that episode. I was like, gosh, man, I was so stressed, and I hit it so well.
Yeah.
And but now I own 100% of the company and don't have them calling me or emailing me every day.
That's awesome.
That's great. That'd be super interesting to dive into more later too.
Oh, yeah.
And if not, then we'll have to have you come back and we'll do it again. So, Kristin, it is so good to see you, and I'm so glad you're here. When I look back at our episode, like I just remember just being completely fascinated with like everything that you were doing and all and really it was with your blog. I know you said you kind of have pivoted your blog, or at least the name of it, right?
I just rebranded,
So let's catch me up because I'm super interested. Just catch me up. Like where were you then, and then where are you at today?
Well, when we did the podcast, it was January 2019. So I had only been working full time for literally 2 months.
You had left your job to do this full time at that time.
And looking back now, I mean, I was so confident, but I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. No idea.
So you make it.
Yeah. So 2019 is just kind of like a blur. Like I just was working. August 2019 came around. I signed with the management company. I know we talked about that. And I was actually listening to our podcast on the way here, just to kind of see where I was and, you know, what I said and everything. And I had 86,000 followers. Okay, and now I have 318,000 on Instagram.
Jeez.
Yes. So that has grown a lot. And then, like I said, I signed on with the management company in August 2019. I did end up going to New York Fashion Week in September 2019. I know we chatted about that too, because I was invited the year before, but it was just too last minute that I couldn't go. And then December 2019, I hired my first assistant, and she worked with me up until this month. And then I hired a full-time assistant literally last week. She just started on Monday. So super excited to have her. Yes. And I know COVID hit last year. I was kind of freaking out just because like social media, I didn't know where it was going and everything, but social media didn't slow down. It just sped up. Yeah. So honestly,
more time on our hands.
Exactly. Honestly, it helped my business a lot. Yeah. Everyone was at home on their phones. Retailers were doing all these crazy sales because they were trying to get people to still continue buying. And I was sharing the sales, and it was, I mean, people were buying. That's all I'm going to say is people were still buying.
Got that stimmy.
Have you evolved to any other platforms, or is it still like all the time being spent on Instagram?
It's pretty much Instagram. I mean, my blog, it's no longer fortheloveofcoffee.com. I rebranded just because as I grow, I just felt like it was kind of young.
She said for the love of coffee?
Yes. My maiden name's Coffee.
I'm following you.
Yes, my maiden name is Coffee. So I rebranded, and it's just KristinCoffey.com. And I still focus on fashion and lifestyle. And, you know, when we start trying to have kids, and we're now building a house. Things are going to evolve and kind of grow. So I'm super excited about that.
Okay, so you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I already know what you're going to ask me.
Well, because I asked you on the show.
I know.
And I was like super like glad that you were transparent enough and told me. But I asked Kristin on that episode, which was, what did we say it was? Episode
39.
Episode 39. Okay, I had asked you. Okay, and this was only after 2 months of doing it full time. We're basically trying to project 2019.
Yes.
And I said, Kristin, how much money will you make off of Instagram this year?
And I said,
And you said 80 to 100. You think that'd be about 80 to 100.
that was what I was hoping to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if I recall, you had messaged me, right? I want to say about this time.
It was
Maybe
April.
It was like April. And you said, it was pretty much like, oh my gosh, I've already hit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, that was like
That was back in 2019.
That's a lot of
2
influence.
months later. And
Yeah.
so like, I know like humbly, like, you don't necessarily want to tell everybody how much money you're like making, but I mean, if you will tell me, I would love to know
I'll tell you how much I
you
made
did
in 2019. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe not now, but 2019 I ended up making close to 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
300.
Forget donuts. Let's go.
there's so many questions I need to ask that.
I mean, my husband is a donut connoisseur, but
I'll trade.
And all of this, and most of that revenue was coming from influencer marketing on Instagram and like through
Instagram.
affiliate stuff.
affiliate
Like,
brand
what's-
deals.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And now I've kind of like I have my Poshmark. I have presets, which are like photo filters that I work with a photographer on. So that's included. Just a couple of different other things that, you know.
So you want to tell us how much you're making in 2021?
No.
Okay, so I've got questions.
I got a lot too.
I
Yeah,
know,
you go
man.
first. You go
It's so
first.
intriguing.
You go
It's so
first.
intriguing.
I know nothing about, okay, so I'm a company and I want to pay for an influencer to post something on a story
Okay.
or a regular post. What is the going rate right now for someone that has 300,000 followers?
So I've always been told that you multiply your following by 100 without telling you my rate.
Dang.
So like if you ask someone who has 10,000 followers, it's probably going at about $1,000 for an Instagram
Wow.
post.
Is
right,
there
that's
a WOA
correct,
GNV
right?
discount?
10 times 100? That's 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys are still adding. That's,
I thought you were like the whole
Or no,
100,000.
I'm
You're
sorry,
talking about, like,
100,000
Okay.
is
So you're saying if you had
1,000.
300,000,
A
so you
going
take
rate
the
is like
300,
$3,000 for yes.
for a post.
Okay.
Per post.
I'm following you now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
$3,000 per post if you have 300.
So 1,000 per 100,000.
wow.
Yes.
All right. I did pitch.
Yes.
Thanks, Jason.
Don't ask me for math.
Second question, 'cause I'm so intrigued by this. Is it based off engagement you're getting? Do companies ask to see that info?
Yes. So anytime a brand emails me, they always request to see my engagement, my reach, my impressions, my demographics, like how many women are following me, how many men are following me. Like they look at all of that before we negotiate a rate.
Yeah. Have you done any studies to measure the impact of what that post brings back, like the ROI of if I pay you $3,000,
Yeah.
what that gets back?
Well, number one, the company won't reach back out.
Okay.
But with affiliates, so a lot of like boutiques that I work with, I can also link their stuff and get commission off of. So the brand is paying me, plus I'm getting commission
Like
off
royalties.
of on an affiliate site, and I can actually see how many purchases I get. So I shared a boutique a couple weeks ago, and I think I had over 100 orders. So.
Wow.
And I mean, you always know, because if a brand rebooks you, then obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, and I work with a lot of the same brands month after month after month.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? How do you assess or decide brands that you want to represent with your image, with your
good.
influence? I mean, how do you decide who gets to who gets to be part of your experience?
So I have a lot of emails a day, and me and my manager, we kind of like sift through them and see, you know, what really aligns with what I share. Obviously, I'm more fashion based, so a lot of boutiques will reach out to me, and I kind of see if it's my style. If it's not my style, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll have to pass. But other things, kind of just research the brand. If it really aligns with who I am, then I will share. But a lot of times I will send brands to my manager, and she'll get the contact for them, and we will reach out to them. So it's people that I am going after too. So.
Gotcha.
And I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's not about coffee. So, as an influencer, let's talk about strategic planning and marketing wise. Would you say that you are more effective when you are posting more often, or is about the quality of the content that you are posting representing these brands? How that works?
So this one's hard because Instagram is so finicky. I mean, if you guys are on social media, you know that Instagram will hide you for literally no reason. Yeah. And so my story views, I've had my story views be at 60,000, and then I've also had my story views the next week be at 15,000, and I legit have no idea what's wrong. So
do you panic when that happens?
Yes,
yeah.
Because if I send a brand, you know, my engagement and it's at 45,000, and then I have to send them my analytics after I post and it's at 17, they're like, what the heck happened? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I have no idea. So if it's a really, really, really good brand that I know are going to request analytics and stuff, I will try to get my story views to be really, really high that day, either by posting, because Instagram really favors like polls, questions, like anything like that, like the little, you know.
The little add-ons that
that you can do. So I'll try to like ask a lot of questions or polls and then post a good collaboration.
And do you have a content team that helps you with those posts and all of your material? So like your assistant, what is the job description for your assistant?
Everything.
That's the best kind of assistant.
Everything. I mean, she's my right-hand girl. She helps me create content, plan content. My manager helps me plan content too. Okay. And then execute.
Are you spending a lot of time planning? Or
yes.
is it? Okay.
Yes. With as much as I take on, yes. Because I'm honestly trying to take on as much as I can right now before we start having babies.
Okay.
So, because I know that's going to slow you down a little bit. Yeah.
It will. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Like, will you bring that aspect into your story?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will start working more with baby brands.
I have another question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I know some influencers that are friends of mine, and they know some people that used to buy fake followers. So my question is, they say that these people, when you buy fake followers, because sometimes they're telling me, hey man, you should try this. I don't know, man, that sounds so weird. Because they say that Instagram, the algorithm can hide you actually from the news feed. I don't know, because I haven't got any, but do you know? Yeah, because they are pushing me into this. I was like, no, I don't want to try it, because it seems like it's going to be the end of your account.
Yeah, don't buy fake followers.
Yeah.
And because people will know too, because if your engagement isn't where your following is, then something's off.
So how are you growing your followership?
What do you mean?
How are you growing from? How do I go from 300,000 to now you're going to 500,000?
It was a lot easier to grow a follower. Right now, I've been at 318 for months. Yeah. Like December. Like I don't know what Instagram's doing, but I can't grow. But giveaways, not loop giveaways. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them, but giveaways with like my friends. So other bloggers that I've met that I know that I hang out with, there's like 5 of us, and we'll give away like a Peloton or something like that, Louis Vuitton, and we take our own money and put it towards this, and then do the giveaway, and that's their following will follow me, and vice versa. So that's how that works.
So you will say that's a great question, by the way, Jason. So you will say that partnering with other influencers within your own industry will help you grow foster and expand.
Yes, 100%.
Good. That's a hack.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it's not competition. There's room for everyone in my industry. So we all love each other. We've all hung out. Like, we've all been to conferences together. So it's more of like, collaborative over competition.
And another question, if you don't mind, and just like I'm a psycho of media, but YouTube. Do you think your Instagram impacts your YouTube as well?
I don't have a YouTube.
What?
No.
Really?
So does this?
I feel like I do stories all day, every day that people aren't going to want to see my face on YouTube.
No, but it is so.
And editing is not me.
I follow Vanessa Liu. I don't know if you know, but Vanessa is kind of like, like this huge, like you in Instagram. And she's like crazy on YouTube as well. So I have this perception of like every single.
Everyone has YouTube.
Well, like Instagram influencers have YouTube. Not Facebook that much, but YouTube. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of did it like once or twice, like back in 2017. And I was like, this is not for me.
It's so interesting because like when I look at YouTube, I'm like the ability to get more organic reach, right? Because of the SEO and the fact that Google owns YouTube. So when somebody were to search for her name, it might pop up on Google. You know what I mean? Like, or the videos might pop on. Like, those are the things I think about. Like, I think I get nervous when I see somebody who's doing as well as you are, and then thinking that Instagram has so much control and they can go from they can take 60,000 to 15,000 overnight, and you have zero you can do about it. And so I guess my question would be like, what if Instagram was gone tomorrow?
That's a good question. So I try not to put all of my eggs in one basket. I have obviously my Instagram, which is my biggest platform, but if it was to go away tomorrow, I feel like I would be okay, because I do have my Facebook page, which I have grown to 5,000 followers, which isn't a lot, but it's where me and people that want to follow me on Facebook, it's just like a girl gang. I call it my Kristin Pressley girl gang. And literally girls will ask so many different questions on there, and it's just like a daily conversation. So I have that. I have my blog, which gets over 50,000 views a month. So that it's not like it's, dead. I don't.
Do you have like any like exclusive or like VIP, like join this membership and get a VIP, or in our VIP Facebook private group or anything like that?
No, I do have a newsletter that I used to send out every Sunday, but I just got way too busy and I stopped doing it. But now that I've hired a full-time assistant, I plan on bringing it back.
So is that the biggest challenge right now? Is that you're so like time is the challenge?
Yes, creating content that I don't have time.
I can imagine that TikTok would be a good influencer medium for you too. No? Have you looked into that?
TikTok is mean. Those generation, what is it, Z people? Yeah, they're mean.
So I need a story. We need some advice.
Brad, is this true?
Not true.
Have you been on TikTok? All you have to do is read the comments.
So the Gen Z that Brad works with is a little bit different.
Totally different Gen Z.
Totally different. Okay.
Yeah.
This happens after 5
I need some business advice. So my fiance, she runs the social media for us. She's done no paid advertising promotions. I think we spent $15 once on like a post. And she's grown it to almost 13,000 followers in like the past year and a half. Our next question is, when we go outside of Gainesville, should we maintain a single corporate account for all different locations, or should there be a Instagram account for Halo Tampa, Halo Orlando?
That's a great question.
I need to answer that too. I'm listening.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
I honestly think a different Instagram account.
Really?
I think so. Only because do you like post customers?
Yes, we post hyper local.
And people
content
post for you because they want to be reposted.
Yes. Well, the reason I have this question is because there's a very famous donut company in Miami called Salty Donut, and Salty is expanding all over the place now. And they have a single corporate account that I think it's got 200,000 or 300,000 followers on it. And every time I go to their Instagram, I'm like kind of overwhelmed by their sharing location stories for. I mean, you have to
then you have to sift through to see
to get
where.
to Gainesville.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would say split it up.
I would say split it up. I mean, let's just look at Chick-fil-A.
True.
They have one major account, but then they also have accounts per
Chick-fil-A standard.
Yes, and then they have
Sure.
Chick-fil-A. I follow one that's at the marketplace in North Carolina. They literally have 300,000 followers just in the one from North Carolina.
Is this on Instagram specifically, or are we talking about like
Instagram
Facebook or
specifically.
like pages?
Yes.
Okay,
Instagram.
I have another question that's going to piggyback off that. So, when you launch a new Instagram in a new city, what do you think is the best tactic to get people in that city to learn about your brand through social media?
I mean, obviously sponsored post.
Okay.
Because you can do like the area
The
that
area,
you want
zip
to.
code.
Yeah. Demographics. Who are you targeting?
Gotcha.
Everyone or
Actually, mainly
College?
female. It's about 80% female.
Okay.
Between like 24 and 35.
On your donuts?
Yeah.
Really?
80% female?
80% female.
Well, I
on
don't
Instagram.
fit that demographic.
Isn't that fast?
But following up
Yeah.
with Drew's question, and this is kind of like the same question following up. Okay, so would you develop that tactic through more pictures or videos, depending on the length of the video?
I would definitely do a mix.
Yeah.
But how often? How often will you use pictures?
Like every 2 to 3 photos, do a video.
Ooh, that's good. Every 2
That's
to
good.
3 pictures?
I would.
That's cool.
Yeah, because people aren't going to go and watch every single video. It's just their attention span is
Are you-
5 seconds.
Are you still seeing like success like with discovery through hashtags and stuff, or
Yes.
hashtags kind of like
They're okay. They're not as good as they were.
Okay.
But I'm still finding a little bit. So yeah, hashtags are big, especially if you're going into a new city.
Yeah.
You know.
Hashtag Tampa.
Yes.
Hashtag that specific location in Tampa.
Yes, and definitely share on your Gainesville page about the new location, because I feel like UF students come from everywhere.
Yeah.
So if they know that there's a Halo Potato in Tampa, they're going to tell their friends and
Yeah.
all that.
Okay.
And how?
I actually struggle with this because one of the many hats I wear, most of which is to cover up my hairline.
social media.
Is yeah, I do social media for our restaurants, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and they have a master page, Maple Street Biscuit Company, which has buku followers. But now they're up to 47 stores. We have 2 of them, and each store is local, hyper local to the community.
Yes.
And when we started, we just put a whole bunch of pictures up and then unleashed it to the public. And hashtags was great for us. That sponsored post, I love that because that was kind of getting our engagement out there and getting our following out there. So I think that people like local. Even now to the point when we first started episode 18, there was probably about 17 Maple Streets. Now it's 47, but you wouldn't know it's a quote-unquote chain. That you know, that's how the industry would perceive it because they have that hyper-local focus. And that's the MO for every single location. It seems like it is for you guys too. Yeah.
So you're doing the posting for both of those accounts?
I literally just last week hired somebody to start doing that.
I mean, I think a huge thing is consistency, right?
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
a hard
Every single
part.
day.
Is like when
Yeah.
you're the small business owner and you got all these other things to handle. Like
Yeah.
being consistent with the posting is like super
100%.
Being
tough.
consistent and showing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
People love seeing behind the scenes
That's
work,
why-
like how you make the donuts
Ooh.
or
Yeah,
they do.
That's
Yeah.
missing that one. That's good.
Actually, this kind of goes back to like the licensing format. So one of the things that we're most concerned about, obviously, with growth is, do you hand off social media and marketing to that owner, or would you rather pay the corporate Maple Street to run yours?
No, I do repost a lot of their content, but because we know our market and we know our demographic, like you so eloquently put out, this is who buys from Halo Potato.
Yeah.
We know who buys from Maple Street at both locations.
Yep.
So it was really hard for me to hold on to that because I was like, these are my people, I know them, yada, yada, yada. But now we've created a branding guide. It's kind of easy to transfer. And we have 5 themes that we try to post alongside. And that person that's handling it now knows that and has gotten a sense of that from being at other Maple Street locations. But it's hard to hand it off when you know.
One of the things, and I know this doesn't really, this kind of pertains to social media, but do they give you a lot of freedom, Maple Street, to like come up with specials on the menu?
Yeah, they do give us a lot of freedom on the specials because we got in at such a early part of their phase. I mean, they've been since bought out by Cracker Barrel, which we've lost a little bit of the autonomy, but they brought the CEO over to keep that freedom for us to do that.
The reason why I'm asking is because we've noticed our engagement is through the roof. So every week we post specials.
Yeah.
And those specials are gone. They're here one week, they're gone the next, and you won't see them for months.
Yeah.
And we just put them back in the recipe book, and we use them whenever we need a big week.
Yeah.
And, I wonder how it would be like for Maple Street if you guys threw just some crazy specials on the menu.
Yeah.
Said this week only.
Yeah.
How many followers it would drive to your social media?
That's interesting. We haven't done a whole bunch of that because last year we were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when our big pivot story with Maple Street last year was during the pandemic, we were seen as essential. We were going through that non-essential essential thing. But we became a grocery store more so than a biscuit company. And I remember talking with Collin.
Yeah.
We were selling apples and bananas, and we had access to toilet paper during that time, paper towels during that time, which the general public didn't have access to or had to wait in line forever. So we completely became a grocery store, and we were selling, I remember telling Collin this, we were selling more rolls of toilet paper at one point than biscuits.
Wow.
But we had to stay open. Yeah, we had to stay open.
Yeah,
we had access to it, so we became the grocery store that nobody wanted to wait in line for. You just pull your car around and pick up.
I have a question for you. So we have like different industry here, like coaching, restaurants, streaming production, all of this. So how often is it true that you post every 3 hours? And tell me about it. And how often? If 3 times a day, 5 times a day. And I'm sorry, this is like 3 questions in one. So you have the whole idea. So
you need paper to write these all down.
And will you go away from your services and more about your story, or you should push toward like this is what I do. This is what I do.
So I post. Are you talking about like on my feed or like on stories?
On your feed.
Okay, so on my feed, I probably post. I mean, some weeks I have like 4 sponsor posts a week that I have to post, and I used to like fill in the days and post like a random photo if I didn't have a sponsored post. So I was posting literally every single day.
Once a day?
Yes, on my feed. But that's for me personally. I mean, I know bloggers that post 3 times a day. So it really just depends on what your audience is loving, to be honest. But in the recent months, I've been posting like 5 times a week and leaving out like Friday nights and like Tuesday, not like random days. And it's been working for me. My engagement has been really, really good, and it's kind of made me not stress about posting.
But for a restaurant, for example, would you advise to post?
Yes, in a different industry, I would be consistent.
Like 3-4 times a day about their services?
I would at least do like 2 or 3 times a day.
And are you studying what the most optimal times are for your posts?
I used to, but I feel like I've grown my audience and my posts like do well posting any time of day. Okay. Yeah, but I used to follow it strict. Like I have to post at 12:45. Like if I'm a minute later, my engagement isn't going to be good. But yeah, I was way too stressful, and I'm kind of just like whatever about it now because like half the people can't even see likes.
Yeah.
So why am I even
That's funny.
stressing about it?
Yeah.
So Drew, I did the math, and based on her math, I will post. It'll cost you 70 cents. I'll do it. I got $1. You can lock that in for 2 months.
Cents.
One a week. I'll drop it to 65 cents.
Just 70 cents a
There
week.
you go.
So
Let me see your engagement.
I don't know how to find that.
How many likes do you get?
Yeah, send the insights to
TikTok.
Hopefully one day she's gonna be doing a podcast, and then we're gonna talk.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just super interesting just to see. Well, one, I like the growth for everybody, but definitely, I mean, it's easy to dive into like that social media world and just keep going. So, have you thought about any other platforms, or I mean, just because you said like you don't want to put your eggs in that one basket, like
Not right now.
no.
I'm just kind of going with the flow.
All right, so I mean, are baby plans in the near future?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be 29 next week.
So I read your bio on your website before I came here because we've never met before, and it said you're from a town with one stoplight?
Keystone Heights.
Keystone.
Okay. I live out in Newberry, and it sounds a lot like Newberry.
I live in Stark now, but yeah, I was born and raised in Keystone, and I actually
318,000 followers. You live in Stark.
yes,
That's amazing.
yes.
That's an amazing story.
I travel
Go
as much
ahead.
as I can.
What does your husband think of all of this?
I mean, at first he was like, "Okay, babe, just do what you want to do," and then. Well, we actually, when I went full time, he had just gone full time with his business.
Okay.
So it was kind of a scary time. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was both like two big risks that we just took, and it's been amazing.
Does he like to be like involved in your like stories and stuff, or is he kind of like
He does.
like,
No.
leave me out of it?
He does like to be involved, and the girls love him. I'm not even kidding. I think they love him more than me. But there are days where he's just like, get that phone out of my face. And I'm like, okay, that's it. So
Is it hard to turn it off? Like being in that world and posting as much as you do, is it just hard to like, I mean, can you go without your phone for 24 hours?
no,
Wow.
Could you go without your phone for 12 hours?
depending on what I was doing.
Sleeping.
I mean, there you go.
Okay.
12 of those.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't stop. I mean, look at my phone.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it does not stop.
And you are personally engaging with these people that engage with you.
And let me.
Oh, yeah.
Such a great question, like Collin. Actually, because you as an influencer, you probably use the phone 80% more than all of us. So, at what time do you? Because a lot of people I met, like a guy that trains the Amazon team how to sleep.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? So at what time during the day you say, hey, that's it for today, so I can sleep well? What is that time during the day that you stop doing anything on social media?
Good.
At 10 p.m. when I go to sleep.
What?
Is that when you go to bed 10 p.m.?
So
like,
you
shut it down,
so you
10?
stop and then you go to sleep. They said you gotta
Pretty
stop
much.
2 hours prior sleeping.
My, what is it called? Your
Blue light.
Screen time.
screen time
screen
is
time.
like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Wow,
That is a job.
Yeah.
that is a job.
That is
Yeah.
a job. You have a career.
Yeah.
And she's
So.
crushing it.
I mean, I'm hoping to get to the
amazing.
point where I don't have to be on it as much. You know, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
this is such a freaking in-depth question. How are you taxed as like a business owner of an Instagram account?
So I am an S corp.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, which I
Do
actually.
you get to like do write-offs?
Oh
for,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Do you see that Louis Vuitton right there? That's a
Right
write-off.
off. Boom. Love it.
That's great.
Yes.
Every trip. Is
My
probably planned
engagement,
around it.
my engagement ring we just upgraded as a write-off
Nice.
because I
Love it.
shared it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
Leah, my fiance, she doesn't know this, but yeah, I did buy the wedding and the engagement ring with.
Is it a donut?
No, I did buy it with
That
a
would be
business
pretty cool,
card.
like a
so,
donut ring.
It's a write-off.
my accountant told me to write it off. So.
There you go.
A donut ring with like diamond sprinkles. That's pretty dope.
Because it was like in the Instagram folder picture holding
yes.
the donut.
So
and
she-
I was like,
she-
right
That
As
was
long as
actually
you
the
post a
reasoning.
picture, it's a write-off.
She said because I kid you not, because she's holding up the donuts with the ring in her hand, it is considered a write-off.
Yes.
Is that wild?
that's wild.
I was like,
Wow.
absolutely, I'm going to
Wow.
go there and not use my personal money.
Oh, I've learned a lot with write-offs in the last 2 years. That's for sure.
Oh man.
My account is not nearly aggressive.
Yeah.
We need to talk
I don't
about
think
this.
so either.
I'm missing
I
some
switched to a
loopholes.
new account this year, so I'm hoping she's okay with everything.
Risk averse.
I feel like I played a little bit safer than that, but you know.
It's a business expense.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got people to buy it, so.
Okay, so Jason, I've got a question for you. So, you're obviously in the entire real estate world. You think about it all day, every day,
Yeah. And
right? So when we're searching for a property, so a little background: we have a property on Main Street that is a year-to-year lease, and right now we deal with flooding issues.
Yeah.
And the landlord won't do a thing about it, and I'm not spending my money to enhance his property.
Yeah.
And so every day we look for new properties. I look on LoopNet, I look on Colliers, I look on Craigslist, everything. Why are restaurants so, there's nothing out there right now,
Yeah.
even after COVID? I am just shocked by that. that there's no listings?
I think they're coming to. A lot of it was propped up by PPP, the first round and the second round.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are dealing with more ischemia than we know. Kind of like they have the symptom of a heart attack without having a heart attack just yet. So I think that once that money burns off the books, it was getting ready to burn off the books. So we thought the first quarter of this year we were going to see a lot of those start to trickle into the market. But then boom.
Because
Smokey Joe gave us a second round.
I think that's my actual question. Is I know a lot of businesses a lot of restaurants especially are struggling. I've seen a lot go out, but what's weird is there's no listings for them.
Yeah, no, they're struggling, but they are chugging along because of the propped up financial. Yeah,
gotcha.
The financial.
Well, and business has been good the last few years, so you can have a cash reserve built up, I would think, to where you're like, I'm just going to see this through. I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to give it away for low price per square foot. Just going to hold out and see if this thing comes around. Yeah.
Well, the stats were this for the end of 2020. 47% of restaurants closed. The average loss for 2020 was anywhere between 60 to 80%.
Gotcha.
Those that are staying and are still open, unlike us, thank God, are probably going to close in the next 6 to 8 months because that financial propping is going to fall from under.
Okay, so another question for you. So, my fiance, how we've kind of planned our finances is she put her name on the mortgage of her house we just got a month and a half ago, in order to free up my capital, so we could probably go buy an investment property. Yeah. Would you? Based on the economy we have right now and what you're projecting for the next 6 to 12 months, would you go buy a residential property and rent it, or would you buy a commercial land or commercial building?
That's a fantastic question. I think you're going to overpay for the residential property right now. I think
just hold it and wait for it to crash.
Yeah.
Are we in a bubble? Because it feels like it, but like I said, it's kind of comparing. Like I know restaurants are struggling, but then when you go look on LoopNet and stuff, there's nothing available. Yeah. So I'm like, are we living in an
It's more available than you know. There's a lot that goes on underground that you'll never hear about because they're calling us like, hey, watch this because this is probably going to happen. We're getting a lot of those calls right now.
Gotcha.
And us as a business, as a restaurant business, we're going to buy something. We actually put something under contract.
Good.
Can't tell right now, but we did put something under contract.
Tell us everything.
51% owned in a new market.
Tell us.
Because money's just so cheap right now, and the SBA is throwing so much money at people right now.
That's the way I'm evaluating this.
Money is cheap right now, and it's going to be, if you look at it from a cost outlay, a lot of the landlords right now are trying to make up for lost time last year, lost rent collections. So we thought that the rates were going to get lower, but they have either stagnated or gone up because a lot of people are trying to make up for that lost time last year. So take that comparison compared to what you're going to get, cheap money, 3-4% on an SBA loan. 25-year fully amortized loans out there right now, which is unheard of for commercial property. And if you're occupying over 51%, it's a no-brainer.
Gotcha.
Yep.
When do you think this residential bubble is going to burst?
There's so much demand and so little inventory, so I think we still have a long way to go.
Because we're about to sell our house in the summer.
And I think, as rates go up, then those prices will start to
escalatory clause.
We already have 4 people.
Escalatory clause.
That's the word at the beginning of the episode. That's the word that I was looking for, was the escalatory clause or whatever, where people are putting in full offers and then they're saying, "Oh, but we'll go up to this."
So I have a feeling we're gonna have a bidding war on our house.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw it with friends of mine, and it's crazy. So this is what you hold the money, wait till everything crashes, go buy 2 residential properties.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's our plan too.
Good question for you.
That's our plan too.
Let's say, so kind of what I'm willing to spend is $250,000-$300,000. When that bubble does burst, do you go buy up multiple plots of land, or do you put all your money into one really good commercial building?
Well, the universal question for real estate is it depends. So it depends on where the land is. It depends on where the land is, and depends where the building is. Quite frankly, it's not a blanket answer.
Yeah.
But it depends. The cost of construction is through the roof right now.
Yeah.
When we built our first store in Tioga, we probably spent 120 to 150 bucks a foot.
Yeah.
It's now 200 bucks a foot and rising. And you can't find a sub to stay on a job to save your life. Plus, you got the city throwing around moratoriums on construction right now. So if you got an asset that's already built and ready to go, that's your best play, because you're going to have so many regulatory hoops to jump through for just
that's what we're dealing with Tower Road right now.
Yeah.
Tower Road was supposed to start. They were supposed to, dig ground 3 months ago, and they're
Still
just
hasn't.
now getting started.
Yeah. Well, you're in good hands with Mitchy Mitch.
They're they are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mitchy
I get
Mitch.
phone calls all the time.
AKA Richie Rich.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, this has been really awesome. I mean, a lot of fun, just like hearing where everybody's been progressing to. I have 2 questions to kind of wrap this up, and we'll just go around the room. And the first would be, like, are you happy?
100%.
Me next. I'm happy. I'm humbled by this whole experience, and what early on in this podcast you were talking about self-discovery during COVID, and one of the things that I realized was I was getting burnt out with just so much wanting to run at 150 miles per hour that I started discovering over the past year my own hobbies that I like to do, and I have such a business mind that everything I look at, I want to turn into a business, but I've held myself back now and said, focus on this and make these other things hobbies. So I think by doing that and realizing everything doesn't have to be a business, I've made myself a lot happier.
Love it.
That's good, yeah.
It's awesome.
I'm extremely happy and humbled and thankful. And
Awesome.
I think just more focused than we've ever been.
Love it.
And I am extremely happy that actually I learned how to keep developing myself, because I learned that instead of developing your business, you got to develop yourself, grow yourself first, so you can grow your business, you grow as a leader. That's number 1. Number 2, I learned how to be grateful for the possibilities ahead.
Love it.
So this is ironically, you asked that question. We've declared this year the year of supernatural joy in my house, in the Hearst household. Joy is all around on our rugs in front of the house, on all around the house, on our different ornaments in the house. So the pandemic really taught us that we were putting our joy and our happiness in the wrong things. And when those things were snatched from us, we really were searching for joy. So now we're at a point where we're doing our hobbies. We're spending more time with each other. All these things where joy can't take it away from you, because we were tying it into a lot of what we did rather than who we are. So now we are finding great joy. So yeah, that's a long way of answering. Yes, we're happy.
Love it. And
Are you happy?
Are you happy? Yeah. Come on now.
I was trying to just move on. Yes, I'm very happy. I would say a lot of people have known, especially with this last year, and just a lot of my passion, and really over the last 3 years, just a lot of my passions shifting, which has been talked about multiple times on this podcast. Like I really want to do this full time, and so just not kind of having this scooter dealership, which I love. It's my first baby. It's like 17 years old. I'm kind of like, go to school, like go off to college, go do your thing. It's time for you to be independent, and it just hasn't quite gotten there, and this has definitely been humbling. Even this past couple of weeks, I'm unlocking the door again in the morning. I'm working the showroom floor. Sales are up because I'm a really good salesperson. But I'm locking the door at the end of the day. And for a while, I was like, I was like kind of resenting it a little bit. I was like, man, like the scooter dealership's kind of keeping me from doing what I really want to do. And, it led to us, like, we listed the property for sale. We have, the building next door for lease. We're trying to figure out these options. What's right. And I actually kind of just had a revelation in the last week. I was like, you know what? I'm not 100% sure that Noah was passionate about building the ark. Mm-hmm. Maybe he was, maybe that was his crowd. Like maybe he was actually passionate about building an ark, but he was probably more passionate about, who he was saving. Yeah. And serving his God, right? And so, that's really the mindset that I've really started to take with this is like, okay, my passion has obviously evolved and I'm ready to focus on this, but for whatever reason, it's not the time. And so I just have to be patient and just keep going. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what comes. I'm excited for the things happening in the scooter dealership. The things are obviously getting a lot better now that students aren't just on Zoom and we'll be scooting to class. I mean, it's definitely been a challenge this last year, but we've made it through, and things are looking really, really good. And I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about what's next. I just don't want this to be a side hustle anymore. This is kind of side of the hobby. This is the hobby, right? Like when the food truck and the donuts was a hobby, I really want this to be the full-time thing.
You have to manifest it.
Yeah.
So
you have to seriously just think about it 24/7 and manifest it into reality.
That's right, man. And I definitely do that. I think the hard part for me is like I can go. I'm one of those guys that likes to go 150 miles an hour all the time. Like, let's keep going. And I can definitely burn myself out quick, like I was here, I was up at 5:30 this morning, and what time is it now? I mean, we're 9 o'clock. I've been here all day. It's been a long day, but I love it. I love it. So that's good. Yeah.
Well, 150 episodes in, I don't think you understand how much you're blessing other people. Not just by growing their business, but the people that hear these. I mean, I've learned so much just by being in this atmosphere today. But all the people that have heard the 150 episodes, I don't think you can quantify how much you've blessed other businesses and other people that have heard you. So
Thanks,
keep doing what you're doing. I feel like you're only getting started too. So.
Yeah. Well, and so my final question. All right. So we're at episode 150. So at episode 300. I have everybody come back. Right, 3 years from now, where are you in 3 years? Like, paint the picture for me.
Me, I will be in my dream house that we are building. I know it's not a builder's market, but in my dream house with, you said 3 years from now, at least one kid.
Okay.
Maybe two. I don't know. And my business soaring. Maybe something in addition, a boutique or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Do you want to predict how many followers you have so we can just see if you were right? I love doing stuff like that.
I will hopefully over 500,000.
Okay.
With the way Instagram is, I don't know. But hopefully over 500,000.
I'm predicting it'll be a lot more.
I'm thinking it's like 1.5 million.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. For sure.
So 3 years from now. So I see Halo. So in 5 to 7 years, I want to sell it. That's the destination. In 3 years, I could see 50 locations, some privately owned corporate locations, most licensed locations. But the way that I look at Halo is it's the path, not the destination. And so, this is how we've lived the business for the past 3 years, is just let things happen. And I think I'm going to be working on spending more of my time working on some other business completely than Halo. I think that although it's going to continue to get really, really big and everything, I don't think it's going to take up more than 50% of my time. I think there's going to be something else that grabs me and takes me along for the ride. So we'll see what that is.
Can't wait to see it.
I don't know what that business is going to be, but it's going to be
I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, 3 years from now. Well, now that we've spent 4 years building the Gainesville selling factory and we're on a really good trajectory now, I see 3 years from now we could be in 5 other university towns across the country, other top 10, top 25 universities. We could have 1,000 to 2,000 students a year working for us and just positively impacting the lives of amazing students and doing it the right way in an industry that isn't always the best industry.
Yeah.
So being a light in this tough industry and I think too with because I'm much older than everybody in here, but we think about 10 years, 15 years from now. Sure, we could maybe sell the company one day. We could do this for the next 15 years. I have to start thinking about I'm getting a year older each year, and all of our students are still between 19 and 22 years old that are working for us. So, what's exciting to see though is, and we're excited now. We have our first marketing manager that we've ever hired that just accepted a position with us that we're super excited about, and she came up through the selling factory.
That's awesome.
And she was a student and worked for us, and now we're super thrilled about that. But what we're seeing happen now is we're seeing the future of the Selling Factory, the leadership team forming from within. We're not looking for C-suite executives from other huge companies. We're not looking for industry experts. It's all bubbling up from within because the talent is right here, and we get to build them up the way that we want to build them up, and they bring their talents and their excitement, and it's just unbelievable, man. This is so much friggin' fun.
That's awesome.
It's always
so
fun, man. Like especially when you're doing what you love, and you just it's
unreal.
exciting to show up every day, right? It's awesome. Elio.
Well, in 3 years, I am manifesting that Jason is gonna help us get a building where we're gonna get 3 other producers. I am not going to be producing anymore. We're going to be supervising 3 other producers to multiply for 100 times the volume that we're producing right now. We're going to get Gainesville Prosthetics, Bamboo Strategic Media, everything in the same building that Jason's going to help us to get.
Okay.
That's plus this is something that no one else.
I get a cut of this commission. Like you being on Jason.
By the way, this is exclusive for WHOA podcast because which camera you want me to look?
Right here.
This is a podcast that make you say, whoa, well, we're about to launch a new product that by the episode 300 probably is going to be making history already. It is a brand new app that is going to change the whole social media game by Bamboo Strategic Media in partnership. I got to tell you, man, I'm excited. So I am manifesting all of this today, and that's just the technology part. The Fiesta Media, I'm going to have my own venue that Jason's going to help me to get the land.
He's getting me amped up right
now.
Let's go. I am manifesting this.
Yeah.
All right? This is not that a wish. We're making it happen, baby.
Love it. Love it. I always love it.
That got me fired up, man.
I know, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, explosion.
The energy in here. Jason Hurst.
Thank you, brother.
Man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm in a way, I'm concerned about disruption in the real estate industry. It's hitting the residential industry more so over the past few years with the advent of Zillow and all the other cool little apps and things that you can do on your own to find your own places. But I know eventually it's going to hit the commercial real estate industry, but one thing I hang my hat on is that we provide a superior level of customer service, and I'm in the business of helping people. So whatever that looks like adapting-wise, I know I'll still be in real estate because I absolutely love what I do, and I love helping people more so than even just selling them my product. That's base level stuff. I love helping people, which is also the reason why I got into Maple Street. Now, I remember I sat on episode 18 and I said 10 stores in 10 years. And I got to 2 stores and I was like, this is going to be 2 stores in 10 years. I can't do it anymore.
It's hard.
And then 2020 just punched us in the face.
But sure.
2020 is probably the best thing and the worst thing that happened to us. It was the worst thing, and obviously the sales weren't coming in like they used to be. But it's the best thing because I really know, beyond a shadow of doubt, why I got into Maple Street, and it's to help people serve others and be a part of the community, which is our MO. So it kind of reinvigorated that whole reason why I got in. It really reinvigorated the why behind why we do what we do. And now we're looking at location number 3, so we're still on track 3 years later. And I think in the next 3 years, we've had opportunities to be in store number 6. So if I'm staying on pace, next 3 years we'll have 3 more stores, hopefully. And by that time, my son will be, he's already, don't tell anybody this, but he's already working in the store at 12 years old. So,
I love it.
There's labor laws against that, so strike that if you need to. But he'll actually be working in the store and coming up in one of the people that I follow that I just find phenomenal as a family is Howard Green, who started Hobby Lobby. He has this great book called Giving It All Away. And he has generations of people that have worked in his family, but they came up, he will not let them just come in because they're in the family. They have to work their way up in the store. I see that generationally for my son, my daughter. My wife wants one more kid. We'll see where we are in 3 years. But I see us generationally being able to pass that wealth on to our kids and keep it in the family, create jobs for other people. We employ a lot of students here. But just being we love the opportunity to give back to the community and give back to the new communities that are in the pipeline. So I'm looking forward to doing more giving and helping people with more buildings. So
love it.
Yeah.
So real quick, let's go around the room as fast as we can and just give everybody your social media handles for for your businesses or for yourself.
All right, so we are the Hearst Herald team. That's HURST HARRELL, the Hearst Herald team on Instagram. For the restaurants, we are Maple Street Tioga and Maple Street Butler Plaza on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Just go to eliopiedra.com for the Fiesta, for your events, all of that, and for podcast production, thefiestamedia.com.
Yeah.
thesellingfactory.com. We're on LinkedIn, pretty heavily on LinkedIn. We have an Instagram page. I think it's the.selling.factory. It's not my side of the business, but
Get that new marketing person on that, yeah?
thank God. You can email us. I'm Brad at thesellingfactory.com. I love talking to entrepreneurs. I'm here to help any way I can.
Yeah. Been a huge help to me several times. So all of you guys have in your own ways. So, but thank you.
Cool. It's at Halo Potato Donuts on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a website where you can submit a contact form. So in case you have any, business questions or business advice, or you're trying to compete with us, just send us an email that way.
This goes out the week of May 10th. Do you know what the specials are that week?
May 10th?
Ooh.
No.
Can you just make something up and
People think we plan out the specials months in advance. I kid you not. It's the night before.
so let's do it right now.
It will have donuts.
Let's do it right now. Say this week's special and then make sure it happens.
I'm going to say Strawberry Crunch is going to be on the menu.
Strawberry Crunch, the week of May 10th. Strawberry Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is BOGO at Publix. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, man.
I do love
That one's crazy.
All right, and mine is KristinCoffey.com, and then my Instagram is Kristin C. Pressley, and if any of you ladies want to be part of my Facebook page, it's Kristin Presley's Girl Gang.
Yes.
Can I add one more too? Because Dan will punch me if I don't.
Yeah, of course.
Collier's Gainesville.
Yes.
Is another one of the hashtags for our wonderful sponsorship.
Absolutely. I wasn't gonna let you. I wasn't gonna let you forget. I had it here, man.
And shout out to Collier's. I was a customer of theirs.
Yes.
And they're helping me look for other space as well. So
Yes.
Collier's 100%, they're the people to go with.
That's right.
Appreciate you.
You guys, thank you so much. I am genuinely excited to just see where all of us end up in 3 years' time. It'll be really cool to see if those predictions happen and just to see where everybody's at. And audience, thank you so much for listening. 150 episodes. I'm so incredibly grateful that you guys have put up with me that long and that you continue to listen. And it's just a real pleasure to be able to do this every week. And I'm just so grateful for you guys. And special thanks to the team in here, James Leitner and Sarah Lentz, for all of their hard work behind the scenes that make this spectacular. You guys are incredible. And podcast fam, if you didn't have a chance to check out, or if you didn't have a chance to write down the information of today's sponsor, which is Collier's, be sure to check them out. It's on our website. You can find all the sponsors actually at whoagnv.com/sponsors. But the GNV commercial advisors at Collier's Gainesville can be found at colliers.com/Gainesville. So definitely connect with them there. And when you reach out to them, say, yo, Jason, yo, Dan, yo, team, I heard you on the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Well, we'll see you later. Bye.